few weeks ago, I was here at Tractors and Cream, and I had a very interesting conversation with Vicki Jones, who's the owner of Tractors and Cream. We talked about things like OTAs, we talked about booking platforms, we talked about website and just retaining guests and stuff like that there. It was a very interesting conversation to speak to a glamping site owner and to get some behind the scenes information from them. So this, what you're going to see, is an extract from that conversation, and I hope you enjoy it.
Continue.
Oh, right, okay.
As you were.
Now you're not going to do it as well.
It's also saying, yeah, so in terms of like OTAs and making a website, so you were saying that before you were doing okay during COVID and then you changed to OTAs because people don't trust booking directly anymore?
So we've run our site this is our 10th season. So the very first year, obviously, nobody had a clue who we were. We just popped up. We'd hadn't done no marketing. We had some social media, but we heavily relied on Airbnb that first year because it's the best way to get bookings because you've got this massive. The OTAs give this like billboard effect where if you're on Airbnb and Booking.com and Vrbo and Expedia and all these big ones, they've got huge marketing budgets and people know them. They trust the brand. And obviously, if you're brand new, you don't have a trusted brand yet. So people go to the OTAs, they find your site. And then what we did was we gave them, as soon as they left, we gave them a 15% discount code if they booked direct next time. So obviously the OTAs are taking 15% anyway. So it's no skin off my nose for them to come back and give them 15% anyway. And then you hook them as a client for life. And some of those people have come back every year for the last 10 years. And that's what you want. Back then, before we used ResNexus, we didn't have the ability to do email marketing. Whereas now what I do is when I get an OTA booking, I will ask them immediately, can I have your email address? And then they go into our system, which means I can email market to them. And then I can get them as a direct customer anyway. So I've kind of got rid of that 15% discount code.
Are you still on OTAs?
Yeah, so we did 1 year of just being on Airbnb. Then we managed to get 100% direct for probably the next 4, 5, 6 years because of COVID. It was so easy to get bookings. Like we could have sold the site however many times over. Then 2024 went back on Airbnb because the bookings were slightly slower. And then we got a few bookings from Airbnb, but mainly direct. And now 2026, we've got so many more Airbnb bookings than I've ever had before. And I'm only really connected to Airbnb. We still get a lot of direct, but we're kind of getting those extra times when maybe we would have been quieter. And also we've dropped our minimum nights in the midweeks to 1 night. We used to always be blanket 2-night minimum.
Yeah.
So there's loads of different strategies around how you can do your pricing, what you do with the OTAs, and how you kind of work this kind of hybrid model of using them, but also getting direct bookings.
So, see with OTAs, obviously Airbnb is the main one, but you've also got Booking.com, and then you've got Cottages.com, and you've got a few others. But obviously most of the bookings probably just all come from either Airbnb or Booking.com, or what's it like for Tractors and Cream? Yeah,
I would say we don't do Booking.com just because I don't really like them as a platform. They're a bit, I don't know. They just don't give me the clients that I want. Airbnb do, but you'll talk to other glamping sites and they're like, hate Airbnb and get loads through Booking.com. So it's really personal, and you'll find that as you list on all these different sites, you see the guests that come through and you kind of make a decision based on how you're feeling about that OTA. Yeah. There's so many different ones, and some will take more commission. Some, like cottages.com and Sykes, they will allow you to market your site in other places, but they'll push the commission up higher. So if you solely list with them and you don't list anywhere else and you don't take direct bookings, your commission will be lower, but they'll do all the marketing for you.
That's a nightmare, but because then your entire business is based on them.
Yeah.
You can't sell that business in the future. Well, in theory you can, but you can't sell it for what you could if you just put in the work and like you guys did, built the website and then built all the trust into it, because you're so heavily dependent on them, and if something goes wrong with them, then you're done.
Yeah, you need to really own your guest information, which is why email addresses are so important. And I thought email marketing was like a load of rubbish, just because I got through so many emails that I just dismissed because they're junk. But actually, we see the results from email campaigns and how when you've built a brand that people do align with and they actually genuinely want to hear from you, we always get bookings every time we do an email marketing campaign. So it's about getting that guest data from the OTAs, which the OTAs won't give you unless you ask the customer directly. There's even little tricks like, if you've got Wi-Fi on your site and you don't want to ask, but you have to put your email address in to get the Wi-Fi password. So there's lots of different things you can do. But part of part of what you've built as part of GlampLaunch is this kind of support system. So like if you buy a GlampLaunch pod, then you have access to people with huge knowledge who've built sites and have run sites for years. Like you'd have access to me because we would work with ResNexus, and I'm not just here to kind of talk you through the booking system. I'm also here to say, like, let's have a look at your pricing. I'm a hospitality business coach, so I'm here to help with any kind of like actual business advice, not just around just getting bookings.
Well, you've been running a site for 10 years.
Yeah.
So
For my sins, that's fine. I'm great. So influencer marketing has become a bit of a huge thing now. Obviously, when we started in 2017, influencers did not exist. They were not a thing. Whereas now you start to get messages through from people that say, oh, can we come and stay for free in exchange for XYZ content? And influencers can be a really powerful marketing tool. Like if I got Stacey Solomon to come and stay here with her 5 million followers, I would be inundated. I'd be fully booked for the next 2 years. Stacey Solomon's not going to come and stay here for free. So you can look for micro influencers who have much less followers, but still have really engaged followers in your specific demographic. So we are purely family friendly. We've got play areas, we've got treasure hunts, we've got soft play. So I'm looking for influencers that have toddlers or small children or like up to kind of teenage years that have a following of that demographic. So when someone emails me, I'm looking at what their engagement is, what their demographic is that follow them, how many followers they've got, what kind of content they create, and is it going to be valuable to me? And then there's different tips and tricks you can do. So I will always give an influencer a discount code so that I can track what bookings came directly through that influencer.
Yeah. And you do that on ResNexus?
Yeah, so their name might be Katie, so I might just put the code as Katie10 so that I know that all those bookings that come from that influencer. And if you see you get no bookings from it, then you think, okay, well that was a waste of a stay.
You can also incentivize them by giving them a kickback for every booking that comes from that discount code.
Yeah, you could do. Yeah, I've never done that, but you could do that because I can't afford to pay someone to come and stay here and take a 2-night stay. It would, because we can get full pretty much anyway. But if you're kind of starting out and you're thinking, well, I really need some extra marketing, then influencers can be really beneficial. But it's just about looking at the right ones for you and whether you can afford to give them a bit of incentive or not, or whether you can just kind of give them a 2-night stay and maybe some hamper or something to kind of make them get their good content. But I would always get in writing that you want how many stories, a reel, what platforms you want to post on, because a lot of our audience are on Facebook now. I know we're old school, but that's my demographic, that's millennials.
Really interesting.
So we've got like about 7,000 followers on Facebook, whereas we're more like 3,500 on Instagram. And that's just where my audience is Facebook. And most of our bookings come through, direct bookings come through Facebook or word of mouth. So you've got to work out where your audience is hanging out.
You know that video that you recorded with Derry, probably like, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 years ago, where you went and stayed at the Secret Garden Glamping and you sat down with Derry for like 10 minutes. And one of the things that he talked about was posting on TikTok. And Derry said in that video that the people that book his stays aren't on TikTok. It's like their children that see it and then like they send it to the parents. Like I thought that like really blew my mind.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
Whenever he said that.
Yeah.
Do you get like anything like that? Like do you have TikTok or?
We're on TikTok, but it's not where our audience is. Derry's audience is the kind of 18 to 30. They're really prolific on posting pictures of where they are. But I would always say, like, when you're designing your site, have stuff that people can take their photo in front of. So have your logo somewhere that people want to just snap a selfie, so that even if they don't tag you or they don't say anything about where they are, when friends and family look at their photos, they're like, oh, Tractors and Cream, let's have a look at what that is. So Derry does that really well. He has loads of places around his site with big neon signs that say The Secret Garden Glamping. He's got a swing at his entrance where people will always stop and take a photo no matter what the first thing they do is they go and take a photo there. So have Instagrammable or social media places that people want to take photos that will then generate you a bit of user-generated content, which is gold.
The audience being on Facebook makes a lot of sense, because when I think of my siblings who have kids about the age that you're talking about, they don't have time to be on YouTube. They're not scrolling short form. They might get on Facebook while they're waiting for their bread to finish and just scroll for a couple minutes.
And it's Facebook because so many people use groups and Marketplace, which Instagram don't have. So groups for me are really valuable, because there's like loads of glamping groups and people say, oh, I just want to go away for this specific date in this specific area. And if your site fits that criteria, then you just post on there and say, oh yeah, we've got availability, and tag your site. And then there's big groups like I'm in a group with about 1 million people in it. It's a family related group.
Really?
Yeah. And that one, I asked our Facebook went viral for like such a short period of time, because I'd posted about the fact that we don't put our price up on the school holidays, and everyone was like, oh my goodness, that's incredible. I can't believe you do that. No one does that. That's brilliant. Like, I'm definitely going to follow you because I totally understand your ethics, and create things like that. So Facebook groups work really well for marketing as well.
What percentage, so see for like a new site starting out, would you recommend that they build a website and they post on social media because they're a new site, and then also work with OTAs for like 1 or 2 years, and then just kind of do what you done, and then just try and gather like everyone's information, build up a good reputation, obviously offer a good service, and then effectively like try to wean people off OTAs and get them just funneling through your website and through your brand? Is that kind of
that's the crux of it. But you will always want to get new blood through. So you will always be relying on the OTAs to try and get new people in, because a lot of people now, they just want to go somewhere different every year. And you're not necessarily going to get, we're really lucky that we've had the same guests come back year on year on year. And quite a lot, the reason is because we get groups. And so they book their group holiday because they know it works for them. And it's really difficult to get like 6 different families together. So that's why we get our repeat bookings so well. But you want a kind of hybrid. I don't think you can obviously get 100% direct bookings if your social media is like super on point, but I would say don't feel that pressure to aim to get 100% direct, because you can use the OTAs, because think about their massive marketing budget that it's got.
See, after like a few years, like after you've been established for a while, what like percentage of your bookings are direct now versus what percentage come through like Airbnb or any other OTA?
So we're probably now about 80% direct.
That's insane.
As opposed to
that's insane.
100% direct. And I've kind of got this pressure on myself that, oh, now we're relying on the OTAs. But I said this in the podcast we did with John about OTAs the other day, that I really don't want to feel the pressure, because there's a lot of people that are like, it's all about your direct bookings, and it is, because you haven't got to pay commission on them, but that does involve you using your time and energy into your marketing.
Not if you're up with GlampLaunch.
Well, exactly. So you want a kind of hybrid. I think that optimum is 70% direct, 30% OTAs.
Okay, that's a good split.
Yeah.
And you said something interesting earlier, that Airbnb works for you and Booking.com doesn't, but then there's a dichotomy for other sites where Airbnb doesn't work for them, but Booking.com does work. Are they like the two main OTAs, or are there any other like big players that you would recommend, or just kind of focus on them too?
I think if you're going to pick two, they would be the ones. Verbo stands for vacation rental by owner. So it's a vacation rental as opposed to glamping, and they want you to have a kitchen, a private kitchen within the space. So if your glamping falls into that category, that's fine. You can list on Verbo as well. They're becoming bigger. You've also got like Glamping Hub,
Cottages.com.
Cottages.com, Hip Camp, Sykes. A lot of them are now branching into glamping.
There's like meta OTAs that you put all your details into them and they just spread it over all the other OTAs.
Oh, okay.
Like you can sign up for like an OTA and then they'll just blast your profile on all the other OTAs.
So like Travel Nest does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's good or not because it's like it sounds much better in theory, but realistically, like people are only going to go on Airbnb or Booking.com. Like there's only like 5 core websites that people even really visit.
There are some smaller ones like Cool Stays are pretty big, and Host Unusual.
Glamping Stays.
Yeah, Glamping Stays. They're Travel Chapter's new glamping part of Travel Chapter.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
So yeah, there's loads and loads of different ones. But I would say ones like Travel Nest, where they disseminate you out to all the different OTAs, they take a percentage as well. So they're taking 5%. So then you're taking 20% of your booking fee.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have a channel manager that just does it all for you anyway, you're a bit more in control.
Yeah.
And you can work out what OTAs work for you and what don't, and what kind of guests you want through, because they do all give you a very different type of guest. I know that's really weird to think about, but there are
That's strange.
types of demographic, like, yeah,
My brother and with his 2 toddlers always book through Airbnb.
yeah,
And they're always looking for something with a kitchen because they always want to cook their own food for their own kids. Me, on the other hand, I always book through Booking because I have the discounts and the availability. I don't care if I get a small apartment that doesn't have a full kitchen. It just depends on what people are looking for, and they tend to find one that they like. Especially the Booking gives you the royalty or
the genius, the genius discount, yeah,
which helps me. It means I'm saving 15 euros every time I book somewhere, basically.
yeah.
So having that loyalty can be beneficial to people sometimes, so it makes sense.
But if you, as a site, can incentivize people coming off the OTAs by giving them a discount code, so you can email your marketing list with a discount code, say book direct and get 10% off, then you're matching those Booking.com prices. But also you can do an uplift. So say your book direct price is £120 a night, you can tell Airbnb and Booking.com you want to increase it by 10% to kind of, or 15% to cover the cost of the commission. And a lot of people are doing that now because Airbnb have put a blanket 15% commission on, whereas it used to be 3% if you weren't hooked up to a channel manager. So now everyone's paying 15% and everyone's really feeling that. And so I think a lot of people are just adding that onto their prices. So it is normally cheaper for the consumer to book direct, but they just don't necessarily trust it, or they think they should book through Airbnb and pay through Airbnb because of air cover and the different things that you've got, like the cancellation policies and stuff. So it's kind of this is what Geeta are also trying to do, is educating the general populace as to it is safe to book direct and we want you to book direct.
Exactly. So what type of like guests specifically, okay, let me rephrase that. So for all different glamping sites, like everyone has an ICP, as people talk about in the industry, like what type of customers are your ideal customer profile? Like who do you want to have? And do you think that's something that a site should figure out before they put pods in? What they actually want to offer? Like obviously you've mentioned this is like a family resort, so everything here is geared towards families. And I asked you earlier in one of the domes if you've ever had couples stay, and you're like, no, it's really just only families. Because you've intentionally built that. And do you think it's important to build a site that's based on who you want to like have stay, or do you think that you just kind of build a site and then just kind of see what happens? If you know what I mean?
Yeah, we purposely chose, because we had a small, like when we started this, the kids were like 2 and 4. And so we knew that demographic, and I find it much easier to market to a demographic that I'm in, that I know about.
Okay.
So we purposely decided to go down that route. We put a play area in so that I could be doing the changeovers and the kids could be in the play area. I can see them. That was like part of why we did it in the first place. So that kind of evolved for us. We knew nothing about glamping when we first started. We'd stayed in a yurt one night. That's it. So we were kind of finding our feet as we went along. But I think finding your ideal customer is really important. But at the same time, we have narrowed ourselves down so much that we don't ever get couples come, which means that we hardly get anybody in the midweeks and term time because the kids are all at school. So we've tried to go down the like marketing to toddler route, which is why we put a little bit of soft play in and stuff. And we did like toddler takeover discounts. We get 3 nights for the price of 2, stuff like that. But I think if you can create a site that has a couple-friendly pod and appeals to couples, and you've got a family-friendly pod that sleeps a few more, then that's probably the optimum, and you kind of get everybody. But it is difficult to market to multiple different demographics.
What do you think about pods or huts or yurts or whatever the structure is that have like one master bedroom and then they have like a second room that's got, say, a sofa bed in it? Because that way it can work for couples, but it could also work for small families. Do you think that's like a good balance for people to have?
Yeah, definitely. Because then if you are a couple, you don't feel like you're paying for extra beds.
Yeah.
And also as a glamping site owner, you're not making up, like if I've got a couple come and stay, I also make up the bunk beds that looks nice, which is just a complete waste of time and washing. Whereas if you can have a sofa bed that you fold out, then you can make that up and charge extra for those couple of extra kids or whatever.
Yeah.
Or it just is a sofa and it just looks like a nice couple's retreat.
So for anyone that wants to come and stay at Tractors and Cream, any families that want to come and stay here, where can people find you online, and literally where can they find you?
We're in Somerset in the UK, and it's www.tractorsandcream, tractorsandcream.co.uk. If you search, the reason we went with the name Tractors and Cream is because nobody else in the world is called Tractors and Cream. So if you put Tractors and Cream into Google, you'll find us on many platforms.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Vicky.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Right, well, sometimes it sounds like I know what I'm talking about.
If you enjoyed that conversation with Vicky and myself, please leave a like and a comment on this video and subscribe for more. Whenever you're starting a glamping site or growing a glamping site, it's very important to have the right infrastructure and the right team to support you. And I have conversations with people like Vicky all of the time. If you're interested in starting or growing your glamping site, please get in touch with me and I can help you take your site to the next level. Thank you for watching and goodbye.